Hello, everybody, and welcome to this 38th episode of the Closers Podcast. I am your host, as always, Mark Alvarado, and today is a very special day. Oh, it so is. We have, returning from his sojourn in Hawaii, Quinn, the Moondog, Kalani. Welcome back.
Finally, I have returned.
Oh, how lovely this is. It's been a long time coming for this to happen.
Long time. Through shoals of dust and sand. And over many miles.
We've, a lot of the viewers have missed you, dude. Or the listeners have missed you. I've gotten many DMs asking me, where's the boy? Where's the boy? And I'm like, look, I don't know. I can't tell you when he's going to come back on, but look, no further. We have you back. So
the tide brought me in.
The tide did bring you in all the way from the island, the big island.
Oahu, not the big island.
Oh, you're not on the big island. My bad. See, I don't know shit about anything. But yeah, so before we get into the rambles that we so love to partake in when you come onto the podcast, how have you been?
Whew. Man, it's been since I left, it's been you want to say it's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to, overhype either end of the spectrum.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. One
thing I have learned in my post-secondary education, my university education, is that it is a marathon. It is a true endurance test. It's not a sprint. And I think that's where I've fallen short in the past.
You thought it was a sprint.
Yeah, just burning hard on both ends, and I think now that I finally overcame that, but
yeah,
man, it's hard not to just not to feel deflated after the monotony of that academic structure.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean.
In what are you referencing? What are you referring to? Any specific situations?
It's just the day starts, class. And this is how class goes. It's seemingly how every class goes. Mm-hmm. Lecture, notes, test. Lecture, notes, test. Lecture, notes, test. When your days, or at least for myself, when my days take on a very specific cadence,
yeah,
and there's no freshness to it.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, torture.
Oh yeah,
torture.
Man, that's so terrible. Terrible.
But it truly, it's hard. Man, I think at some point, like, you just feel like, wow, am I really still in this? Am I really still doing this?
And you're like, I can't believe I'm still in this.
Yeah, you're like, Jesus Christ. You start to, like, question, am I making the right moves?
Yeah.
Yeah. But, as always, discipline, we usually see you through.
True.
Most things.
True.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, mixed bag, some highs, some lows, some woozies, some wazies.
Ooh, woozies. Are you still studying film?
Yeah.
Still film?
Yeah, balls deep.
Which we'll get to his takes on recent films in a moment. But still sticking on the topic of your journey abroad. Well, not abroad, but kind of abroad. A little bit. But anyways,
well, that's a deep bag, right there to get into that. It's a deep political, cultural bag.
So we won't. So what I'm gonna do instead is ask you how Hawaii is. How do you like just living in Hawaii? Because that's something you've been wanting to do for a long time.
Yeah, it was something very personal to me. Something that I felt like I needed to do. Just for perspective. I was. Obviously, no need to, like, rehash all the details, but outside my intermediate family, I didn't meet another Hawaiian, let alone a Polynesian, until my sophomore year of high school.
Yeah.
So my cultural, my ethnic identity was basically formulated through popular culture.
Interesting.
By means of the cinematic arts. Whether it be film or television. That's, something probably the thing I learned most in my time away is how much film and television influenced who I am on a lot more deeper levels than I thought.
Wow. What sort of levels are those?
Well,
that you could expand upon. I know it's personal.
Metaphorically, or not even metaphorically speaking, just like something that's very prevalent or that's being pushed hard today in cinema is representation.
Yes.
That's something I scoffed at for a long time. Just like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You know? It's a movie. It's TV. But then again, you know, thinking back, The Rock, the people's champ, the Brahma Bull.
The Brahma Bull.
You know, that guy was the figurehead of Polynesian masculine identity for me. Now, I don't mean that in a literal sense. You know, obviously, you know, for every young man, there's, you know, a father or a brother.
Yeah.
But in a heroic sense.
Yeah.
What you know, an Adonis, something people aspire to be.
He's the Hercules in your eyes.
That makes it sound kind of gay. But you know, there's always that figure, you know, that you see that seems so distant, but is so near because you see yourself in that person.
Yes.
Who is that person for you?
Oh, no, you're not talking about anybody in my family, right?
No. I mean, like, you know, so you're very passionate about music.
Yes.
Who was that cultural person? It doesn't even have to be, I don't think, the same culture, the same ethnicity. For me, it was.
Yeah.
But who was that person that influenced you so greatly at such a formative time?
Damn, dude, that's a really good question. There's a lot of people. I must say, I was actually asked this recently by a previous guest. I think Ryan Takeshi, when he was on, he asked me the same thing. Honestly,
there's a 6ix9ine joke in there somewhere.
True. Honestly, Kurt Cobain.
Nice.
Easily. Kurt Cobain. When I wasn't a big Nirvana fan ever growing up. No one really showed me the music. But when I discovered Nirvana, and obviously I saw the shirts, people wearing them and stuff, and I was like, man, I got to check this out for myself. Is it really as good? I mean, it looks cool. And when I listened, I'm just like, bro, I love this shit. And that, like, changed my life. And Kurt Cobain, to this day, is, like, up there for me. And I play left-handed just like him. And it's interesting because he died like 3 years before I was born. It's just, I feel a connection to him, kinship. So for me, that'd be
yeah. And you know, it's interesting retrospectively now that we're in mid-20s for you. I'm slowly easing into my later 20s. Looking back, you know, at our youths, those figures within you know, different arts that helped brought us to where we were, that helped shaped our ideals and our identities.
That's very true. It's very true. Do you have somebody like I know The Rock is within film, but he is also somebody that is tied to you culturally and ethnically. Is there somebody like me outside of that,
my ethnic identity? For me,
Robert De Niro.
Well, outside of like cinematic arts, but still within a cinematic narrative of a different shape.
Yes.
Sports entertainment.
Oh,
you know, it's hard for me not to go back to the Diaz brothers, man.
Oh yeah.
You know.
No, that fits. That fits.
I mean, and I put them within that sports entertainment category because of the, you know, the narrative that while it isn't scripted, it is forged through the actions of the characters involved. It's live theater.
Yeah.
I mean, same as, you know, WWF in my time, WWE today, UFC, MMA, it's live theater with real consequences.
True.
So
that is interesting.
You know, the Diaz brothers, as you know, have always been a big part of my life, and shaping that. You know, I recently got a new Nate Diaz T-shirt.
Oh, you did?
And it felt like putting on a uniform.
Wow.
Not like, it wasn't just a T-shirt. It felt like I don't know what it's like for double A to get into the Navy Whites.
Yeah.
But I do know what it is for San Quinn to get into the Diaz Black.
Yeah. Dang. That's crazy. I like that, the idea that you're like putting on a jersey when you're gonna represent that person or that idea of who that person is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know if you've seen me. You have seen me wear the shirt with Kurt Cobain on it, and he's like drunk.
Yeah.
And he's like laying down on a bed, and it's just like a really unflattering photo, but it's just like funny. And I bought that. Honestly, I bought that with my first check that I got from the store that we worked at when I was 17. Yeah, I bought that, and I've had it ever since. And it's just one of those shirts that I'm just like, this is so fucking cool. And even though, you know, I don't want to be like how Kurt Cobain is portrayed in the shirt.
Sure.
But just knowing like that he was a dude who just kind of did everything on his own, even though the cards were just stacked against him.
His way.
Yeah. Yeah, Frank Sinatra. Yeah. He did it his way. But anyways, yeah, it's just interesting. What does the shirt look like? The Nate Diaz shirt you're talking about?
Well, I have two. I mean, you know, one's a blue tank top, one's black, and it says the Stockton Slap featuring Nick and Nathan Diaz.
Oh, I thought you were gonna wear it.
I was, but it was covered in cat hair.
Oh,
and I didn't want to besmirch or taint the green couch with cat hair.
Yeah, it's okay. I appreciate it. The green couch,
the avocado couch.
The avocado couch. Yeah.
There's no avocado room on the Closers podcast. There's an avocado couch.
True. Every guest that I've had on, for the exception of those people that my coworkers who are not Quinn Kalani, and the guys from New York who I just interviewed last week, the 12th Human. Everyone else has sat on that couch and has been in this room. It is very interesting. But that's really cool though that you've experienced that, enlightenment. Enlightened way of thinking in the terms of like your cultural identity, how it pertains to the media, which is something that what you're majoring in is media, and essentially. Yeah,
well, I mean, it's hard not to be confronted with that. In Hawaii, it's such there's such cultural richness there, and it's such a unique culture. Mm-hmm. It's you're not going to find that in Tennessee or in Texas or even most parts of California on the West Coast. You really have to be in the Aina, which means the land, to feel that and to feel the connection between the people and the land. It's really something that you kind of have to experience firsthand.
Yeah.
And when I experienced it firsthand, I already knew, but then it's kind of forced into my gullet that I didn't have this cultural experience growing up. I wasn't groomed in a community of elders.
Yeah.
With this rich tradition. So, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Because you're like, damn, you feel like you missed out on something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is what it is, and it's part of forging your own identity. That's really what adulthood is: forging your own identity within a greater cultural context.
That's true. That is very true. And I feel like as you get older, as I am, you begin to appreciate those cultural ideas that you kind of were raised with, and during your adolescence, people generally kind of push back, or they turn a blind eye to it because they think, why it doesn't have anything to do with me. Like, why am I going to participate in this thing that I didn't get to choose, that like has nothing really to do with me as a core person, like my personality or anything. But as you get older, as something that you've realized and something I'm beginning to. No, it definitely influences your values, your ideas, the way you think, the way you see things, your perceptions of it's a lot of different things, and I personally have definitely gotten more appreciative of my heritage and my culture
for sure
as like a Mexican American person, and also as just an American, and also the more European roots that that my family holds, and there's a lot of different avenues to go down, but mainly it's Mexican American culture and Chicano culture, and it's just really crazy to see like some things that my parents had to go through that I read about in classes, and I'm like, dang, they really had to deal with that type of like, they actually had to deal with racism like straight up in their face.
For sure.
But like me, I'm just like, maybe people have been racist towards me, but I just kind of don't pay attention to it because it's so like underneath the surface that it's not like, hey, you're a different color to me, get the fuck out. Like, it's not like that.
Oh yeah. No, like, you know, and one of the gifts that I've received from my time in Hawaii is learning about like, you know, my grandfather who left Hawaii.
Oh wow.
Waimanalo.
Yeah.
And moved to Kentucky and Tennessee.
Wow.
And you know, my grandfather was he's a real dark guy, dark skinned, dark complected. In a interracial marriage in the 70s.
Yeah, that's
in
crazy.
Southern Kentucky. And you know, you take these sort of things for granted
when you're
growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as I've gotten, you know, as we've harped on, as I've gotten older, you know, you really start to appreciate, you know, the courage and just, man, the trials and tribulations that those who have gone before you have endured.
Exactly.
That, you know, really, you know, cleared the road of obstacles for you.
Yeah, because, yeah, that's very true. Man, I can only imagine just how that was for him.
I mean,
both of them, really.
It was pretty hardcore. I mean, you know, like, you know, my middle name is Moke, M-O-K-E.
Yeah.
You know, so a shitty insult, really, you know, really lacking of wit was you know, I've had, you know, some men in my family, you know, been called brown monkey.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, it's just tasteless. Like, God, you know, you can't come up with something better than that. But, you know, I personally, I haven't dealt with much of that in my time.
Yeah.
You know, when I was coming up in Kentucky, I can't really recall a single instance of prejudice.
Yeah.
You know, and the 3 times that I did experience any sort of discrimination,
they didn't think you were Hawaii.
No one ever assumes or you know, gets it right. So it's always it's hard to be fully offended.
Who do people think you were? Like, I know you got Middle Eastern.
Typically, I think it's maybe the facial hair,
the beard.
Yeah. I get Middle Eastern a lot. I get Indian a lot. You know, Indian, not Native American.
Yeah, like
or
from
indigenous
India.
American.
Yeah.
I get you know, Indian. Just nothing that actually hits the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But
dang,
it is what it is.
That's
you
hella
know.
funny though. Shit.
You learn to let these things go as you get older.
Yeah, you do. You do.
I'm not as angry as I used to be.
You learn to like kind of laugh at them and just be like, all right, like this guy's whoever's calling you those names is just a fucking.
You learn to sift through the bullshit. You know, you learn when to get angry when it's validated.
Yeah.
And when to just, you know, brush it off your shoulder like Luke Skywalker at the end of Last Jedi.
Yeah. True. It is interesting, like you're talking about how your grandfather left Hawaii and then went to Kentucky.
Yeah, we went to Vietnam. Vietnam was the catalyst.
Oh, okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he's a vet too.
Yeah. I never had the opportunity to meet him. He passed away before my time when my dad was still, you know, very young into his adolescence. So I never had that opportunity. So something that's been really cool has kind of been like retracing those steps.
Yeah. It's crazy because my family kind of has a similar, or at least on my mom's side, it kind of has a similar thing because my grandma, she was from this little town in Jalisco called Ayutla, and my grandpa was from a neighboring town, a little village. I forgot what it's called. But my grandma actually was what was it? She actually was in love with this guy named Senor Marcos. Or Senor Marco. I don't know if there was an S or not. But she was in love with this guy. And my grandpa like met her one day. I forgot how. I don't know any sort of specifics, but I remember being told that my grandpa met her and was like, "Hey, I have money and we can go and like start a life up north and go like to America and like live there, blah blah blah." And my grandma was like, "But I don't know." And the thing is, my grandpa had money. The guy that she actually truly loved like didn't have money. So she left the dude that she loved because she was in a poor area. You know, she didn't, you know, my grandpa was able to offer her more.
Yeah.
So she had to kind of take the offer because there wasn't anything there for her.
Whoa.
And
what a hardcore sacrifice
yeah,
and decision to make, man.
dude, it's crazy. And so to this day, like that I've met that guy. Like he's been in my house.
You've met Senor Marco.
Senor Marco has come over to my house before.
Did he did he lean over and be like, "You know, you're named after me"?
No, he didn't say anything to me about that, but I asked my mom afterwards, like a week or so after he came to visit, and she was like, "Yeah, you're
Whoa.
named after him."
Lost love.
Crazy. It's crazy, huh?
Marco translates to lost love.
I guess so for our family.
Whoa. Do you think that subliminally impacted your music?
I think so.
Whoa.
Maybe. Just because a lot of it does have to deal with that, like, longingness.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah, that longingness for, like...
Or the domino effect,
that
I should
person.
say.
Yeah, that person that is not here anymore. But you
Mm.
know for good reason why you guys shouldn't be together anymore. But, you know, like, things are how they are, and that's just kind of how it is.
Dude, that's a hardcore decision.
It's crazy. And so, like, they moved up here. My mom was born in San Francisco, and, like, a majority of my aunts were born in Mexico. But my mom was born in San Francisco. My uncle was born in San Francisco, who is the youngest out of all the siblings. And then they moved down to the Los Angeles area, lived in Sylmar. And they owned, like, businesses. Like, my grandma and grandpa owned, like, they owned a bakery. They owned, like, a couple of mini marts and stuff. Had to sell everything because they got a little too old. But, yeah, and it's just crazy how, like, to this day, that dude, Senor Marco, is like, I still love your grandma. Like, I still love her. Like, I have a family. I have kids with other people, with another person.
That dude is the Professor Snape of Jalisco.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Dude, that's hardcore.
Yeah, so it's just, like, crazy to hear
that's like
stories like that.
Beautiful, but in an incredibly somber way.
It is very somber because it's just like, man, like, the dude is, like, older, and he's, like, the nicest guy ever. He's so nice. Like, he's so just calming, easy to talk to, dude. But things are how they are, and
it is what it is.
Life is how it is. Just like the new Star Wars. It is what it is. Star Wars. I'm sorry. I had to pivot.
Dear God.
It is what it is.
The gales of December came through and destroyed what I loved so dearly. Once upon a time in a galaxy far away.
What happened, Quinn? What happened in that movie? What?
Well, I don't think
What even was it?
I don't think you can really observe Rise of Skywalker on its own. You really have to. I mean, you knew from the beginning, from Force Awakens, you knew you were getting a trilogy.
Yeah.
Force Awakens is the first act of that trilogy.
Yes.
Rise of Skywalker is that said conclusion of that trilogy.
Yes.
And yet, between Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, it feels like three completely separate individual films with little to no cohesion.
Interesting.
I mean, that's the vibe I got.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, one thing.
Yes.
When Chewbacca seemingly died.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was, but there he was on another transport. Did you see two transports land on that ship?
No.
Exactly. There was only one. And quite frankly, I also thought it lacked courage.
I think the whole entire trilogy lacked courage, in my opinion.
It lacked courage. I mean, Rise of Skywalker made me appreciate one iota on an atomic level of The Last Jedi. Still hate Last Jedi.
So you liked...
But Rise of Skywalker made me appreciate the fact that at least Last Jedi took a chance on being something completely different.
As in, the whole movie took place in a day?
Yeah, pretty much. Or at least it tried to forge its own identity within the Star Wars universe.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
I think therein lies the problem. Each film has its own identity.
And I think that the biggest problem was that one person did not have the balls to just take the whole trilogy under their wing and make it their own. And Kathleen Kennedy did a horrible job at being the Kevin Feige of this trilogy.
Very true.
Because if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it is a testament to how great Kevin Feige is.
It is, yeah. The MCU is what Star Wars used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
It is what Star Wars used to be, and I think it's so foolish for. And hey, I mean, I'm saying this as a film student. My opinion doesn't mean shit, but I think it's foolish for aficionados or established artisans to dismiss the MCU as not cinema, when in fact there is no definite definition of what cinema can be.
Yeah.
Ideally, what cinema is people going to a movie theater and having a shared communal experience watching a film.
Yeah.
That's at a core what it is.
And that's something I do want to ask you about, because on this very couch that you are on right now, sat two young boys named Gavin Stein and Carlito Salamanca, and they went on a little rant directed at me about how Marvel, the MCU, and these big franchises are not, basically going off the Martin Scorsese rant. That's what they did. They were like, the MCU is not film. It's a movie, but it's not film. Which I was like, what are you talking about?
How do you? I don't understand the justification for that.
I don't either. It's like it's definitely it is.
So my question would then be, what is the criteria to be considered film or cinema?
I think they would say it has to be an original idea that has
an original idea,
has a clear.
The Irishman is not an original idea. It's in fact based off a book. We Paint Houses. Martin Scorsese's Age of Innocence is not an original idea. It's based off a book.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ is not an original idea. In fact, also based off a book.
Yeah.
There are...
And I agree with you. I'm 100% on your side on this.
I mean...
Because I think at the end of the day, people are mad that, like, this statistic that I just read, like, 2 days ago. Like 80% of the blockbusters, like number one films this year, have been Disney produced films.
I see,
and so I think people are mad about that, and they're like, oh, they're taking the soul out of these movies and just churning out these things that they know will sell great, like the whole Marvel formula. I think they're mad at that.
Instead of critiquing the formula in which it comes out, instead ask yourself, why does the audience keep returning in droves to this product? It is, in fact, and it has been said before, a modern mythology. It's a rehashing of a modern mythology. What can man aspire to be? What can man fall to? It is as simple as that. It is something that that is something at the core of what Star Wars used to be.
I agree.
What can man aspire to be? What can man fall to become?
Yes.
The Jedi, the Sith, an Avenger,
or
Thanos. I mean,
or the inevitable.
Yeah, or an Avenger or the inevitable. But consider this. The art of storytelling has existed since the dawn of mankind.
Yes.
And for the last 2,000 years, you'll appreciate this as you are venturing into Scandinavia. For the last 2,000 years, men and women and children sat around a fire and regaled themselves with the achievements of Thor Odinson.
Yes.
And yet, what are people doing today? They are going into a dark room and regaling themselves with the tales of triumph of Thor Odinson.
True. That's one thing that I don't understand about the argument that Martin Scorsese poses, and also the same argument that my friends tried to pose to me.
Quite frankly, it's demeaning.
I think so too.
It's demeaning to the people involved, who are artists, without a doubt. Without a doubt, those who, the special effects, the production, the costumes, the actual written words, the directors, the actors. These are all artists contributing to a greater painting.
Yeah.
It is the same thing with Martin Scorsese's work, with Ari Aster's work, with Spike Lee. It's the same thing. Genre films have long been pigeonholed into this niche, kind of like maybe nerdish sort of subcategory, subgenre, subculture, to reference what we were talking to before.
True. Yes.
But look how this subculture is impacting people of today. What was it? Like 5-10 years ago, maybe, there was that boy who had cancer, and the entire city of San Francisco turned itself into Gotham City.
Just so he could have that one day to feel like a superhero.
Has there been another film or character that has inspired an entire city to rally around a sick child? And you're gonna and we're gonna say that's not art? If art is meant to invoke change, to provoke emotional response, how could that not be considered cinematic art?
I agree. It doesn't make sense to me because I know both of these guys are staunch DC supporters. They love DC.
Oh, there it is.
So it is. So I'm pretty sure they're just mad that DC has been the bottom of the barrel. They have been, and I hate to self-depreciate myself, but they've been the Oakland Raiders of cinema. They've been the New York Knicks.
They're arena football.
That's true.
They're Pop Warner.
Yeah.
And let's be fair. Wonder Woman is a good film.
Yeah.
I have issues with the third act, but Wonder Woman is a good film.
I won't disagree with that.
Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy, I think, remains
great trilogy.
The benchmark for what a superhero trilogy is and can be.
The Joker.
Can we really sit here and discuss whether superheroes exist, whether comic book genre films exist within cinematic culture and just like dismiss the Joker?
Yeah. And I think their argument is like the tone that the Joker has makes it art because it's serious and it takes itself seriously and it takes the source material seriously, as opposed to with
Captain America Civil War.
With the Marvel movies, they don't quote take themselves seriously because it's very colorful and there's jokes that are kind of late, just like jokes, and they have a certain type of formula, certain type of tone going into it that you already know of. All the movies kind of have a homogenized type sort of tone to them. Like there's not varying degrees, and I think the one movie that did have that was Thor Ragnarok, and that's why it did so well. And same with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, I would offer that consider Captain America: Civil War. What is the theme of Captain America: Civil War?
Friends versus friends.
That too, but but you could look at it from a political angle.
Mm-hmm. Establishment versus
the rights of the individual versus the rights
of the group.
Yeah. You could look at Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Government surveillance. That's what that film's about.
It's about
government infringement on individual rights. Yet again.
It's about the Patriot Act.
I think that formula that a lot of people say, oh, the films follow this sort of, da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, consider that what Marvel has done is established episodic filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be films that follow a specific formula, a specific trend. Within their 3 acts, there are patterns that can be established. So, at the end of this phase, that pattern can be broken.
True.
This is why when Iron Man sacrifices himself, it weighs so heavy. This is why when Captain America finally decides to be selfish for once in his life, it means more.
It's true.
This is why when the Hulk, who is considered a monster, saves everyone. And this is why Thor, who has lost everything, is a complete failure, is at his lowest moment of self-confidence, still discovers that he has worth. These are core human ideals.
Yeah.
This is what we want out of art. The whole Marvel versus DC thing, I think it's overblown. I mean, I won't sit here and lie and say that I'm a giant DC fan because I'm not.
Right.
Truly, outside of Gotham City, I find DC to be bland and boring.
Right.
Film-wise, I really appreciate the direction it's going.
Yeah.
And are we going to sit here and ignore the fact that if DC could do what Marvel's doing, that they wouldn't do it?
Yeah.
Because they tried.
They definitely did try. And I think in the wrong way, but they definitely did try.
So, I mean, I would encourage everyone to just step back. Don't remove your own personal feelings from it. Think about what art is intended to do. Think about what art is. You can't really define it.
It's true, you can't.
Art is only defined by the person who creates it.
Yeah. It's very true.
This dresser, for example.
Yes.
Art. On the surface, someone may say, it may take it for granted. It may just brush past. But someone took raw material and crafted it into something with a functional use. That's art.
Yeah. That's a certain form of art, definitely. Yeah.
So
anything can be looked at as art, definitely. A house, architecture.
Yeah.
Landscapes.
I mean, yeah.
Everything. Nature.
I kind of felt the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Not towards the same subject matter.
Yeah.
But it's exhausting. Just appreciate things for what they are.
Yeah.
And you'll find that you'll enjoy them a lot more.
I agree. And I think, too, it's... And these guys that we're kind of harping on who aren't even here, it's...
Yeah, we should...
It's something...
Can't besmirch them.
Well, yeah. I understand where they're coming from. I understand that they're... For one, they're hurt that their favorite superhero, comic book company can't have the same quality as Marvel. I get it.
Well, DC Comics are out. DC Comics.
I mean, in a film
fairly
sense.
well.
In a film sense, they just can't have the same respect, which I get. But at the same time, you have to understand that you can't define, like what you said, you can't define what is art, what is not art. That, okay, just because, there's a clear bad guy and a clear good guy in these movies.
Yeah.
That it doesn't mean that it's not entertaining and that it's not cool. And I know another part of their argument was the demographic that these movies are targeted towards. Like, obviously, superhero movies are going to be targeted more towards kids. Kids are going to like superhero movies. That's just how it is.
I mean, if you're going to say that,
say with Star Wars,
Marvel is formulaic, then and not cinema because of that formula, then you cannot say the original Star Wars trilogy is cinema. Because Marvel follows that formula. It follows the OG George Lucas journey of the hero.
Yeah.
Harry Potter does the same thing. Lord of the Rings, same thing.
Yeah.
Star Wars itself was based on, the adventures of John Carter.
Yeah.
And fucking, what's his name? Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, man, we just gotta move past it.
I agree, and it's a conversation that was sparked because of Martin Scorsese, and everybody saw the success of Endgame and Infinity War, and they're just like, is this what we're going to do? We're just going to be going down this road where every other month the next big movie that's going to be out is a Disney film. And you know what? Let it be that way. It's okay. I mean, I get it that there's a conversation that it's like, well, it's bad for the movie industry because original ideas are not getting exposed as much, just because these what are they called? These film companies, they want things that they can franchise. They not things
they want guarantees.
Yes, exactly. Which superhero movies, they do that. When you adapt video game characters onto the screen, they do that. I mean, look at The Witcher.
See, part of the onus is on the audience.
Yeah.
If you want these films to be more mainstream, then you need to take your hard-earned money and go to the theater
and watch
them.
I agree.
If you're not willing to do that, then I really don't think you have a place at the table to complain.
And I think too, in time, when there are, really big things happening, right? When there's a big movement, which is a superhero movement in the past decade that has just exploded and will continue to in this upcoming decade, I'm pretty sure. One thing that comes out from these, times is subculture movements. In film, subcultures. I mean, you've seen this in film history so many times over.
I mean, consider the Joker is directly born out of the Marvel formula.
Exactly. Yeah.
And things will continue to evolve to avoid stagnation. It is the nature of art itself.
Yeah, it's never going to stay the same. Just because things are this way now, who's not to say that one day in like a year, the government, the United States government finds Disney to be a monopoly. Yeah. And they have to break it up. And Disney gets broken up. And at that point, you can't sit there and say, well, it's Disney, blah, blah, if they're still successful. Like, yes, Disney owns all these things. Yes, they're making a lot of money off of all these different things. But, like, that's not going to be that way forever.
No.
And doesn't mean that good films that are straight up. I mean, look at what A24 is doing.
Dude, I was just about to bring up A24. I mean, you also have to take in consideration the future of consumerism. Mm-hmm. Streaming is such a... Yeah. Streaming is the inevitable future. As you can see with Disney, they're producing superhero Marvel content for the streaming service.
Yeah.
So...
things are changing. Things are not going to be like 1970 anymore, where there's like legendary directors and legendary writers who you just can't wait to see their stuff come out. Not going to happen as much anymore. But you're going to get people looking more at the credits of TV shows and things like that, which that people already are doing. And people are getting to know directors who specialize in TV who are really fucking good.
Yeah.
And there's more people doing it now because of technology.
I mean, how great is The Mandalorian?
Oh, and every episode's directed by somebody different, right?
Yeah. With, the Kevin Feige of The Mandalorian is Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
So if you love The Mandalorian...
My man, happy.
If you love The Mandalorian, then you should probably love the formula of the MCU.
Yeah.
Because the MCU gave you The Mandalorian.
And if you want to see things that will not follow that Marvel formula, wait until the Marvel things come out later this year.
I would also like to point out that
later next year,
Star Wars comic books are owned by Marvel comic books and have been for a long, long time.
Yes. I'm glad we agree.
I mean, I don't think the blame should be placed at the studio. I think, introspectively, people should just ask themselves, why have these characters remained so prevalent for so long? Since 1962, when freaking Iron Man, erupted into our lives.
Yeah.
Why has he remained so prevalent? Why has the Incredible Hulk remained so prevalent? These, I think, are are greater questions, more worthy questions of our time, whether or not, well, this is cinema or is this not cinema?
Yeah.
Who gives a shit? How did you feel? How did it make you feel? That's what matters. I saw Endgame multiple times, and at the end, there was not a single person. There's multiple people who were weeping.
Yeah.
Crying.
Yeah. And then you look at the end of a movie like A Dog Day Afternoon, because that's just my favorite movie. The ending of that movie, very, very emotional.
Yeah.
And I remember when I showed one of my old friends the movie, she bursted into tears in the end of the movie. It was really sad. It's a sad fucking movie.
Yeah.
And at the end of Endgame, at the end of Dog Day Afternoon, at the end of The Aviator, at the end of
The Way of the Future. The Way of the Future. The Way of the Future.
At the end of what's that one movie with Matthew McConaughey where he goes into space and shit? Interstellar. At the end of, I mean, there's all these great movies that are just end on a really somber note.
Yeah.
That are not big budget. Well, I mean, big budget. Okay.
Interstellar's fairly
big budget. But across the spectrum of movies, there are movies that have been made on almost next to nothing.
Yeah. That
are considered just as emotionally packed as Endgame. Yeah. Which is on the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Huge budget, massive budget.
Yeah.
The biggest budget for a movie ever, right? Or no?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I couldn't.
I thought that was the thing.
That.
But it's up there, and they
certainly
they evoke the same emotion. And as long as it evokes that emotion, I believe
you nailed it.
It's art.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said it better myself. What I'm interested in is you yourself will be venturing to the land of ice and snow.
Yes, I will.
How do you? How are you, man? You're
about going.
This is a giant adventure.
It's
this is
so weird.
This is a journey, man.
It's so weird to because everyone talks to me about it, and it's just like what? Like I'm going to be for damn near 6 months across the world, and just living by myself. And I can't work because I don't have a work permit, and it takes a long time to get a work permit in Sweden. So unless I find a place that's like under the table, I can't work. So I'm just gonna be there, existing in another country that I've never been in before, meeting a ton of people, and it's kind of surreal to even think that that's gonna be my life for a while. Because like I talk about it, everyone's like, "Oh, are you excited?" And I am excited, but like. I'm not going to lie. Like there's moments where like right before I go to sleep, I'm laying here and I start thinking about it and the anxiety just like creeps up and you're just like, oh shit, dude, what am I doing? Like I'm not going to have anybody I know. Like honestly, the only thing I think about is getting to like when I fly into Gothenburg and I land and I get off the plane, I get my luggage and I'm just standing there and I'm like, what do I do now? Like I'm here. But like,
you're at platform 9 3/4.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, what do I do now? Like, where do I go? Obviously, I have my Airbnb that I'm going to be staying in for the first 2 weeks before I move to my apartment. But like, it's like, oh shit, like I'm out here.
That's a beautiful feeling.
Is it? I had a taste of that feeling when I went to Boston earlier this year, and I got off the plane and I was just by myself. But it's a little different because it's still America. Yeah. I know that my phone will work when I pop it open and I start texting my mom and I'm able to call an Uber and I'm able to just figure out where to go because the streets, I know how addresses work in America and I know the language for sure. And English is a very, very, it's
widespread,
super widespread. Like my friend Gavin even told me Sweden is having a crisis in their country because not enough people are speaking the home language of Swedish. Like it's becoming a language that's becoming a little extinct over there, which is crazy to think about. But I'm really excited. I'm mostly excited for the people I'm going to meet, and I can't stop thinking about that. Like, who am I going to meet when I go over there? The people, because I'm going to be with exchange students.
Yeah.
So I'm going to meet people from all over the world.
Yeah.
I just have to remember to branch out and talk to people and make friends with locals too, not just other people that are just there for the experience. Yeah. That's important. So I don't know. I'm really excited. It's going to be an amazing experience. I already know it's going to feel like it's going to fly by.
Dude, you're stepping on foreign soil, man.
For the first time
ever. You're a pilgrim in a foreign land.
Yeah, I will be.
That's awesome. I can only imagine just the... I feel like the anxiety will be lifted, and you'll just be presented with just this vast openness, an abyss of possibilities.
Yeah, and it's crazy because my dad, and I've said this publicly in the podcast before, but I don't know if I'm going to keep doing the podcast while I'm in Sweden, just because to get the equipment to go over there.
Yeah.
But part of my Christmas gift this year... My dad was like, I want you to keep doing the podcast, so instead of sending you your equipment, I'll just buy you stuff from Amazon so you can continue doing it. And then before you leave, you could just return it back to Amazon.
Legit.
And I'm like, fuck, dude.
The kitty's titties always provides.
Yep, that's my dad.
Milk ain't gone bad yet.
No, not yet. There's a lot of it. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. I know I'm still going to take a break just for like the first month or so just to get my bearings straight. Acclimate, meet people.
Yeah.
The one thing that I keep coming back to, and this will branch a whole different discussion, but the one thing I keep thinking about is how I'm going to have to watch the Super Bowl in Sweden. And the start time of the Super Bowl here is like 3 or 4.
Are you going to have to stream it?
Well, what I'm getting to...
You're going to have to download CBS All Access.
Dude, I'm going to have to go... So, if the start time of the Super Bowl is at 4 p.m., I'm 9 hours ahead. So, it's going to be like 2 in the fucking morning or like something.
And then you got to prepare for a 4 to 5 hour event. Boy...
So I'm going to be up. Oh, dude, basically, I'm just going to be up in my fucking apartment just like dying watching this fucking game of Lamar Jackson.
Monsters and Slim Jims.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll meet other Americans that like want to watch it too. So
that'd be kind of cool, dude, if you could get a kickback. Kind of, get some food, some drinks, couple bros, couple chicks.
That'd be cool.
I mean, you can't miss the Super Bowl.
Dude, it's the Super Bowl.
That's like, that is as American as it gets.
Oh, dude, yeah. I still don't understand why
as long
the
as
Super
the
Bowl Sunday is
fucking
not
Cowboys
a national holiday.
Have no chance.
Do you think the Super Bowl Sunday should be a national holiday?
Yeah.
I believe so, too.
Yeah. In fact, I don't believe it should be on a Sunday. I think it should move to Monday. So kids don't have to go to school.
Oh.
The Super Bowl should be a national holiday, as should the day everyone votes.
True. Yes. Yes, I agree. And President Yang will do it.
Yang gang.
Yang gang.
Yang yang.
Dude.
Is that how do you feel about Yang?
I love Andrew Yang.
I also like Andrew Yang. I'm reluctant to fully
embrace it,
caucus for him, because I'm unsure if the establishment will give him the opportunity to actually implement the changes and the ideas, such as the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
Which I totally agree with. It's completely and utterly logical.
Especially you being from the Midwest-ish East Coast area. You've seen
the Southeast and the Midwest.
You've seen it firsthand.
My old man has been in manufacturing ever since he left the Rangers, the Army. And I've seen the growth of machines slowly take over the workforce.
Yeah.
Morally, we have to ask ourselves at some point, if we're taking away the necessity of work, at what point is it incumbent upon us to provide the means of profit for people?
Exactly. I mean, there will always be jobs, but the number will decrease.
I mean, dude, I went to the Burger King at the Honolulu airport, all digital.
Really?
You could go to the counter, But
there's no need to.
No, there's no need. You just go to the kiosk, beep, 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 beep. Get your food. You wait for your ticket. You get your ticket. You go sit down. It's the same way at the McDonald's behind the store.
Yeah, same way.
I mean, this is McDonald's. 20 years ago, your parents were doing that on summer break.
Yeah.
15 years ago, people were considering that as a career.
Yeah.
Now, it's all digital.
Yeah.
What are these people to do?
It's very true. And I think to pivot a little bit off of what you're saying, and I'm gonna quote a student professor, which is even crazier.
Steenzo Mac.
No. Much love for Steenzo.
Much love.
Much love. Gotta love the man.
The mentor.
Oh, dude. He's
the mentor.
He's the best.
Directly responsible for where I'm at.
Oh,
and
dude.
the path I'm on.
Yeah, I agree. And one of the best, obviously the smartest person I've had on, I think, on the podcast.
Super pod.
Definitely the smartest guest I've had on. But still, I must say, when I went to SF State, there was a critical thinking professor I had, and he laid it out very logically for just politics. The modern politics, what you have to think about. He's like, when you vote for somebody, you're not voting for them to get their ideas across. You're not voting for that. What you're voting on is, will in 20 years those ideas still be talked about?
Wow.
And ever since that point, I have totally changed my perception of politics. And that is why I rallied for Bernie Sanders last election. And that is why I'm currently rallying for Andrew Yang, because the things that Bernie Sanders was and is saying now are very important. But because so many people voted for Bernie Sanders in the first place when he first got, recognition nationally, it totally changed politics. The whole Democratic Party's premise is now different because of Bernie Sanders.
The progressive revolution
Exactly.
is directly tied to the rise of Bernie Sanders.
Exactly. And with Andrew Yang, it is the same thing.
You
However,
believe Yang's the next step.
However, yes, he is the next step, but he's to me, he is a step that can bridge a divide between a lot of the moderate liberals I hate the word liberal, but moderate progressives and moderate conservatives. And he could take numbers from both sides, much like Bernie Sanders did in the previous election. But I think he could do it on a bigger level, because when you break down his ideas, they are very at the heart of those ideas is capitalism.
Yeah.
Capitalism is at the heart of those things, much like Bernie Sanders too, even though it calls himself socialist, but to a lesser extent than Yang.
Consider the freedom dividend, $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That is not for you to save.
No,
that is for you to spend.
Exactly. And that is the whole.
That is capitalism.
That
right
is
there.
capitalism. If we give people money, they will give it to us back.
Yeah.
Basically, what the government. Okay, if this is an equation. Okay. Or not even an equation, but let me walk you through it. The government gives everybody $1,000. The government gives you listening, $1,000. What are you going to do with it? You're going to pay off some credit card bills. You're going to pay, for some food.
Yep.
You're spreading that money out into the economy.
You're going to think about that car you had your eye on, and you're going to renew your Brazzers account.
And you're going to put it all out there for people. You're going to buy things. It's going to go into the economy, and then the government makes the government look better.
Yeah.
And it's a circle, and that's what fuels our country.
Bam.
And at that point,
socialism and capitalism is a snake eating its own tail.
Yes. It's the same thing. It's just, which end do you want to start on?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
The ass or the brain.
Exactly. So that's why I like Andrew Yang, because even though I do like Bernie Sanders and I think he should become president before Andrew Yang does, I still believe that if Andrew Yang can rise up in the polls a little bit more, it's going to be, his ideas are going to be talked about in 2024.
Dude.
by like so many more people.
How stellar would a Sanders-Yang ticket be?
Wild. That'd be crazy.
That'd be chaos.
That would be chaos.
That would be pure chaos. That'd be the second American Revolution.
Dude, just imagine Bernie Sanders gets the nomination and he unveils his he unveils who his vice president's going to be.
Yang gang.
He's just like, this man I have been I can't even fucking think. I'm going to have to edit that out. But no, he goes like I have been watching this man from afar and I love his premise. And then all of a sudden glass just shatters.
Like
and it's just
Anderson Cooper's like, Andrew Yang! Andrew Yang!
Dude, and Andrew Yang just walks out from the back.
It's Yang! It's Yang!
And then Biden's standing there like, what am I doing? And he fucking stuns him. He gives him a stunner. Dude, awesome. Awesome.
Defeat the nation of domination, which is the establishment.
The nation of Yep. And then all of a sudden the lights go out and you start ding. Ding. And then all of a sudden the lights go back on and it's Hillary Clinton there just
rising out of the casket like the Undertaker.
Yeah, she's like, I'm not done yet. And then Andrew Yang just like kicks her in the face. She falls back.
Donald Trump comes walking down the aisle like
Vince McMahon.
No chance!
That's what you got.
Kiss my ass.
Dude. It's so great. It's so great. But yeah, that's why I like Andrew Yang.
I like Andrew Yang too. My only trepidation is whether the establishment will actually allow him to thrive.
After the last election, if they try to get in the way of what America wants again, it's over. It is over if they do that.
What's amazing is how little airtime during the debates Andrew Yang has gotten, and yet through grassroots, he has been able to remain in this race over established politicians like Kamala Harris,
Cory Booker, some of the other folks that were in the Democratic thing. There was like 12. I can barely remember any of them. There's so many fucking dumb people.
But, at some...
I can't believe Klobuchar is still there. Why? Why? Get out of here. What are you doing?
Amy, tell you what you want to hear, Klobuchar?
Yeah, it's just... and then don't even get me started about Mayor Pete.
Mayor Pete?
Dude, fuck Mayor Pete.
Buttigieg? I don't hate Mayor Pete, but I do think Mayor Pete has compromised himself and his ideals for the sake of winning.
Because he definitely...
I feel like when he started out last year, when he hadn't even declared yet, and people were like, who's this Mayor Pete guy? He's saying some pretty interesting things.
Yeah.
He's really kind of, I felt, deviated from that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The wine.
He's definitely became more...
The wine cave.
Yeah, I definitely think people could say he's become more moderate as this race has progressed on.
Oh, yeah. You can tell where he's going. He's like, like you said, I'm trying to win, so I'm going to say all these things. But Andrew Yang and Pete Buttigieg are at a statistical tie in the polls.
Buttigieg's what, fourth? Behind Biden, Warren, and Sanders?
Yeah.
In not that order, but...
They're both, Yang and Buttigieg are at 5%.
Man, how wild would that be? Sanders, Yang. I could see it.
I wouldn't mind it.
I wouldn't mind it either. How do you feel about Warren?
Okay, well, I've said this on the podcast before, and I'm just going to double down. I do not vote for people who are as... trying to figure out how to phrase this. I don't vote for people who don't even know themselves as a person.
She dresses like Grand Moff Tarkin.
She does dress like Grand Moff Tarkin.
We will test the full capability of this battleship.
She, depending on the day, she depending on who she's talking to, she'll say certain things. You look at Bernie Sanders' track record, and I've said this multiple times.
The most admirable thing about him is the fact that he's stuck to his guns.
He has stuck to the same principles
30 years
ever since he started.
Yeah.
Back in the 60s, he was saying these things, and people thought he was insane.
They're like, this dude's a communist.
Exactly. And now, he is second behind Biden.
He's the future.
And he's like 70-something. Like, it's crazy. But going back to Warren, comparing Warren to Bernie, Warren was a Republican until 1991.
Mm.
So for you all to sit out there and be like, yeah, I love Warren because she has plans that are like she has a clear-cut thing of what she's going to do. At this point, kind of everyone does, though. Like, yeah, she was one of the first ones to be like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how we're going to do it. Follow me.
Yeah.
I respected that. But now everyone kind of has a plan. I mean, go to everyone's website. Like any politician on the left's website that's running for president, go on their website. You will find a clear-cut, step-by-step plan as to how they will achieve what they want to achieve. Go to Andrew Yang's, go to Bernie's. Everyone has that now. So that's not really a plus anymore for me. So I have to look back at the person, at the core person. And that core person isn't saying anything that has not been said before. That core person has been known as one of the most wishy-washy, flippy-floppy politicians in D.C. for a long time. And yeah, is she better than Hillary? Oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah, certainly.
But are there better options for today's America? Yes. And those are Yang and Bernie.
Within the Democratic race, there are better options. I would say, if Warren was to win the Democratic primary, I will vote for her.
Yeah. And that's fine. And I understand if it's
between Warren and Trump, I'm going to vote for Warren.
Yeah, I would too.
She's not my ideal choice, but I don't think I would think she's an improvement of what we currently have.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I do appreciate her free college.
Yeah,
I mean Bernie wants the same thing.
Bernie championed it before anybody.
Yeah.
So I appreciate her, hitching her wagon on that.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing. It's like Bernie also wants that.
Yeah.
So does Yang wants that too. So it's like at that point, yeah. I mean, you can get free college will be lobbied by 3 out of the 5 like main people running for president.
I think it should also be said it's not free college.
No, it's not.
You're just paying an insanely reduced rate.
Yeah.
In a fraction of what you would be paying today. Mm-hmm. More in line of what generations past paid when it was like $1,200 a semester.
Yeah, which is so much more manageable.
Which is reasonable. And morally speaking, I've heard, Joe Rogan say this, don't you want your populace to just be more educated?
Yeah.
Why would you want to get in the way of that?
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
But I mean, secondary education has sort of become a form of indentured servitude.
You have spoken about this to me privately, so I'm excited to hear what you have to say publicly.
Consider, you pay $16,000, you pay tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds, perhaps, God forbid, some poor soul pays over $100,000.
Oh, that is horrible.
To go to school.
That's horrible.
Without the guarantee of making that money back. You're literally digging a sarcophagus.
Yeah. For yourself.
With no guarantee of digging your way out.
I agree. It's horrible.
And the only people that profit from that are universities.
That is
it's a business.
Yeah. And that's one of the downsides to capitalism.
Yeah.
Is because every institution turns into a business. Yeah. Everything, even things that are not supposed to be businesses, turn into businesses.
It's about finding the balance, right?
Yeah, so you're supposed to find the balance.
If you have a school that says, "Oh, we're a public university," okay, well then it should be made available to the public.
Exactly,
readily available.
Yeah. If you're a private university, okay, charge whatever you want.
Yeah, completely different.
Mm-hmm. Just like public high schools and
private
high schools. Exactly the same shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it should be. Your merit of your intellectual capacity, discipline, and work ethic alone should dictate whether or not it should be a meritocracy.
Mm-hmm. A full meritocracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not one that can be cheated by people that have more money and will buy the SAT and ACT scores for their
Photoshop
children.
your child's face on the rowing team.
Yeah, fucking stupid ass. That's just so disgusting.
Like USC. Fuck you.
Yeah, it's horrible. But yeah, that's cool. So who's your number one right now with in the Democratic race? Who's your number one?
Well,
what's your rankings?
I ride with Sanders number one.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I feel like he has the strongest. He's the strongest chance. They're going off like strength of schedule.
Yeah.
And win probability. I feel like out of the progressive candidates, Sanders, of course, has the best chance.
Yeah.
He has the biggest following.
Mm-hmm.
Second, my personal second preference would be Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang's like the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Would
be Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
I'm just a little nervous that he's not going to be given the opportunity to actually
do what he wants to
do what he wants to do, or even given the platform to really express fully. I mean, the Democratic debates, televised debates alone are ridiculous.
Yes.
Hey, let's discuss something like healthcare in 30 seconds.
Each, yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
And it's just a giant machine where the media is basically just like grabbing snippets of witty one-liners, catchy jokes, and they're just like, "Ooh, here's a jab."
Yeah.
Bam. This is really how Bernie Sanders is going to pay for it.
Yeah.
No. This is how Andrew Yang really feels. No.
I agree.
It's ridiculous. I mean,
it's not. It's just that's not. That's why I appreciated Joe Rogan having on.
Yeah, he's had
Andrew
on
Yang and Sanders.
He also had on Gabbard.
He did.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I mean, I'm not a big Gabbard person.
I thought you were.
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Mm. What's crazy
with her Rogue from X-Men hair? Stop. That white streak.
Yeah. What's crazy to me is that Andrew Yang's campaign needs to amass $3 million by the FEC deadline, which is December 31st at 11:59 p.m. He's already gotten $936 million so far donated to his campaign. He needs about 2 million more. He has to do that in a week.
Jesus.
Or else it's going to be pretty tough for him to continue if he doesn't get that. It's
crazy is like there's no transparency in politics.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real crime. We were talking earlier, which should be socialist, which should be capitalist, finding the balance between the two. I ask you this. Should journalistic media, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, ABC News, should that be socialist or capitalist?
I think it should be independent from any sort of that's tough because people have to get paid.
Yeah.
The journalists, the anchors, all those people have to get paid. So they can't there can't be a slant. It's either, like you're saying, it's either it's more socialist minded or it's more capitalistic.
Mm.
And I
morally, where would you lean to? What is the moral obligation of journalistic media? Socialist? Or you could say public? Or private?
Well, if you're putting it public-private, I think public.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of the media is so that way the public has transparency.
Yeah.
The media is supposed to provide transparency for the public. But when you throw in the paradigm of capitalism, socialism, it's a little different because you think about that kind of invokes the not just morality of media, but that invokes how are these people going to get paid? How is that industry going to be funded? And socialism, the government...
Ad revenue alone is not enough.
Yeah. So the government would have to step in and provide funding for that. That's not good for media, because the media would then be paid by politicians or
as agents.
So basically you're seeing, like, you know, ads for how the government is so great, you know, all this stuff, and stories written about the great things that are happening in the country, as opposed to like the crazy devastations that are occurring, you know. And but on the flip side, if you have a capitalistic, you know, media industry, more private entities can buy and sell their way into, you know, into the headlines, and they can craft their own narratives.
They're slaves to the profit,
independent of the government.
Yeah.
But we all know that millionaire, you know, the millionaire class, the billionaire class, they're an entity of their own.
So a private capitalistic journalistic media would be enslaved to the profit idea of a headline.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm thinking,
what sells?
So at that point,
because if it doesn't sell, then
no one's going to even look at it.
Yeah.
At that point, it comes down to, and I feel like regardless, like both ways, whether the media is fueled by the government or it's fueled by private interests or private entities, either way, it comes down to that specific source of media. Do they have the courage, or do they have the right investor who will allow for them to share news that is unbiased and that is as transparent as it can be? And that is tough to find, because everybody kind of wants their own slant on every story. But I think it is possible.
I think it's like you were alluding to. I think it requires independent individuals of high integrity. I think YouTube, you know, like we referenced JRE, perfect platform. Mm-hmm. A 3-hour conversation. Yeah. Where, you know, the pros are weighed, the cons are weighed. Man, how cool would it be if that was the norm, if that was the standard? I think in the future
it can be.
It will be.
It will be.
But I don't think we're there yet.
No, I don't think so either. Because I think there's two schools of thought, right? People don't have the nowadays people don't have the attention span to even sit through a 15-minute conversation. So why would we have 3-hour conversations, right? Podcasts, of course, have blown that theory out of the water. But when it comes to the political sphere,
it's hard to make it engaging and entertaining.
Exactly.
Because that's what people are wanting.
Yeah.
So the challenge therein becomes, how do I make this alluring enough for the audience to actually invest in it rather than watching videos of cats?
And I think at that point, I think we are getting to that point. Because if, let's say, I don't know, I'm trying to think of somebody who is very well liked. We'll just go with Joe Rogan. He's a very well liked, well respected interviewer, commentator,
pioneer in the podcast world,
comedian. I mean, we'll stick with him. Let's say PBS, right? A publicly funded broadcasting service.
Yeah.
Hires or asks Joe Rogan to host a series of conversations with each presidential candidate that is running for the 2020 ticket.
Yeah.
From the Democrat side. 3 hours each person. If people catch wind of that happening and it becomes an event, I don't think there's any way nobody won't watch it. Like, that would be epic. That would be, people would be like, I can get everything I need to know about these candidates right in one place from somebody asking questions that is unbiased, that truly wants to get to the heart of each of their campaigns.
That is open to differing opinions and opening to learning new things.
Yes.
Opening to being wrong.
And that is something that is costly, for one. And two, the logistics of that would be
insane.
Very insane. But can it be done? Yes, it can be done.
Yeah.
I just think, like you said, we're not there yet. But I feel like people would very much be interested in that, because what do we hold more dear to our hearts? The concept we hold the most dear to our hearts as American people in the modern age: convenience. People want convenience. That's why whenever we don't know anything, we Google it, because it's just the easiest way to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like encyclopedias are basically dead now. So in that same vein, if you had one television broadcast, or not one, but multiple episodes of a short series where Joe Rogan or whoever else who is unbiased talks to each candidate, asks them the similar questions about their campaign, what they are about, who they are, it's very convenient for people to kind of go and listen and sift through everything themselves.
Yeah.
Because it's just put out there for them. Okay, I want to figure out more about, Klobuchar or whatever. Okay, I'll put on her episode. Listen to her. Not really feeling it. I don't really like it. Move on to Biden. Okay, Biden, he makes more sense to me. Okay, and then you're able to go piece by piece like that. I think that's very... There's a lot of ways you can market that to the American people.
I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
We were talking about streaming. How do you feel? Do you think at some point the Super Bowl will be streamed? Completely streamed? Sports itself will be completely streamed? Thursday Night Football is already streamable on Amazon Prime. Do you think that's the inevitable future of sports?
I think...
Straight to streaming? UFC is... You can only get it now on ESPN+.
Yeah. I think... And this is what is interesting to me when it comes to sports like football, basketball, baseball, as opposed to MMA. No one bats an eye at the idea of the UFC hiring their own commentators, their own people to cover the league. I know that and the NFL does that already. I know that every major sports league does that. But the interesting thing for me is thinking, like, what if Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, instead of being employed by NBC, they were employed by the NFL? How would that change? How would that change how they can perceive the field and how they're able to, talk about employees of the NFL, which are the players, coaches, owners?
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah.
And to me, personally, wouldn't like it. If I know the NFL would definitely try to make it NFL Plus, and you're able to buy NFL Plus, and you're able to watch every game from any market, anytime, anywhere.
That's pretty much NFL Red Zone.
But you're also able to go back into watch
the full catalog, the NFL, archives.
Yeah, you're able to watch 1966.
The radar is on August
game.
Win.
Yeah, old school games. They have everything available for you. That'd be sick. But the downside is, well, all these commentators are now owned by an NFL, and they can't just talk shit on Roger Goodell, being like, Roger Goodell made the worst move of all time, and
yeah,
they can't do that. And that's what would be missing. So if NBC, ABC, and CBS kept their contracts with the NFL and they streamed games on their own websites, that'd be more interesting. To me, that makes more sense, as opposed to, okay, NFL
Plus.
is just here, just NFL, and that's where you watch your NFL. To me, that makes more sense. From
NFL Plus, every day is Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, God.
That's it right there.
That's
it right there.
Yeah, that is it right there. Fuck,
every day Sunday with NFL Plus.
That's really bad. But yeah, same with the NBA, same with NHL, MLB. I don't think that would be a good look. But to have it solely streamed, I think will happen if the rights. I honestly think the rights to the NFL, whenever they get renegotiated for TV, I think YouTube is definitely going to have a hand. Google is going to go in. They're going to make an offer Same with Amazon.
I can see Amazon making
Same
a play.
with Twitter. Same with Facebook. Same with Netflix. Hulu.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hulu. Dude, I can see it getting in that Hulu, ESPN, Disney Plus package. Oh, man. Speaking of NFL.
I agree.
Pretty pivotal game for you guys this Sunday.
Oh, the Raiders game?
My season's over.
Yeah.
We couldn't buy our way into the Super Bowl this year. So,
I knew it. I knew you were going to talk shit.
In the most ridiculous of statements of all time, we couldn't buy ourselves into the Super Bowl this year. As if buying your way into the Super Bowl isn't how every team goes to the... I digress.
Yes, it is a big game, and if you haven't heard it already, I went on a little rant about the Raiders, which has been out since... This will be out on Monday. So, Friday... Yeah, this past Friday, I went on a little rant about the Raiders.
They got to get in. I hope as a Northern Californian, born and bred.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a Rams guy, but as a Northern Californian, I realize the importance of what this season means for the Oakland Raiders.
Or just for the city of Oakland, or just for
Northern California.
Yeah, just Northern California, yeah.
And, you know, it would be magical
just for them to get in,
for the Raiders to get in.
That's all I want to see, is just them to get in, because I know already, if they get in somehow, everything breaks for them, and they get in, they have to play the Chiefs. At that point, it's over. Okay, I already know. I already know. So if it comes down to them just getting in, bro. But this is what's funny. If the Texans win, right, which has to happen for the Raiders to get into the playoffs, the Texans have to beat the Titans. And if the Chiefs lose to the Chargers,
very possible.
If the Chiefs lose to the Chargers and Phillip Rivers goes dumb because he's pissed that everyone's saying that he's done and he's gonna and he just goes off.
Go home, take care of your 20 kids.
Yeah. And he goes dumb on him, the Texans become the 3rd seed. The Chiefs become the 4th. So the Buffalo Bills would play the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, and the Oakland Raiders would play the Houston Texans, who they were 3 minutes away from beating earlier in the season in Houston, which the Raiders have owned Houston in Houston for as long as I can remember. We always win in Houston for some reason.
If the Raiders get past Houston, who would they get?
They would get
Baltimore or New England?
They would get Baltimore, because we'd be the 6th seed, so we'd play the highest seed. So yeah, we'd play number 1
in Baltimore.
In Baltimore against Lamar Jackson.
But just to get in, man, that would mean so much.
Oh yeah, exactly. But the conversation stops there, right? Because it's like, okay, yeah, no, just to get in, just to see Derek Carr play in the playoffs as an Oakland Raider would be awesome.
If the Raiders get in, is it kind of shitty Marshawn Lynch decided to go to Seattle?
No. I think it was a good move for him to go to Seattle. There is no way that Marshawn Lynch would come back to Oakland after everything that happened there. But, no, I'm happy for Marshawn Lynch. And I don't think a player can control 2 fan bases in the palm of his hand like Marshawn Lynch can. Maybe Charles Woodson? Maybe. I don't know, though. I think he's more of a Raider than he is a Packer.
That guy's ascot game is fucking stupid.
Really? You had to dog him on the ascot, right? Really?
They're stupid. What is the purpose of an ascot?
To look fancy.
Wear a tie.
To be fancy.
I guess.
So, now that this NFL season is coming to a close, your Rams are in a precarious position, I would say. You gave Jared Goff a lot of money to be the quarterback of your team, and he looks like Jared Soft. So,
very true.
What would you do if you were the owner of the Rams or the GM? Let's just do GM.
Well,
would you fire Sean McVay?
No. I mean, as 3 years of head coach, he's gone to the playoffs twice, once to the Super Bowl. No, I wouldn't fire Sean McVay.
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm just asking.
I mean, ultimately, we're still going to be 500.
Who do you guys play?
We play the Cardinals this week, so we're either going to be 9-7 or 8-8.
Oh, yeah.
So ultimately, still 500. First time in the last 3 years we didn't go to the playoffs. I just think that maybe we need to adapt our game plan a bit. The offense does not run through Jared Goff. The offense runs through Todd Gurley.
Mr. Arthritis.
The T-God. And we got to utilize the T-God while we can. Or
you got to draft another running back.
Draft a stud running back. That could help supplement truly. Malcolm Brown is a good running back. He had his moments this year.
Yeah.
But
why'd you guys get rid of C.J. Anderson?
I have no idea. C.J. Anderson was balling at the end of last year, dude. Balling. You remember when Seattle went to the Super Bowl and they were like, we're not going to run it on the goal line.
Yeah.
We're going to throw a 3-step slant.
Yeah.
That's been the entire season
of the Rams
this year. We've just followed Pete Carroll's stupid ideology.
Yeah.
I said ideology. Idiotic
it makes
ideology of, quarterback first. And we just don't have the quarterback to do that. I like Jared Goff. He makes some excellent throws every now and then. But he's not the fulcrum of our offense.
Yeah.
His best year last year when he was an MVP candidate for like 10 weeks was because Todd Gurley was dominating.
Yes.
Therefore,
it opened
everything up for him.
Yeah.
I think, man, I really just think it's as simple as getting back to that. There's some really good things I like this year. I thought Clay Matthews had a great year.
He surprised me.
Yeah, dude. I don't know how many sacks he has right now, but I'm sure he's close to 10.
Yeah.
Which, for this stage of his career,
pretty good.
Pretty great. I think Corey Littleton, Sun, is a stellar inside linebacker. Jalen Ramsey, obviously one of the top 5 corners in the league. Josh Johnson was injured this year. I think he's one of the best safeties of this league. I think losing Sue hurt us a little bit.
Did it, though?
I think it did, man. It's a big body.
Where does he play now?
Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah. With famous Jameis.
Yeah.
Rapist Winston's.
Jameis, touch your anus, Winston.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, it's kind of it is what it is. It's not a feeling that's unfamiliar to me going into the off season with uncertainty. But if past is prologue, considering the last 3 years, I think Sean McVay will make some adjustments. I think Les Snead is a stellar general manager.
You think so?
I think he's made moves. If you're accusing us of buying our way into the NFL or to the Super Bowl, Les Snead wheels and deals better than most. Truly. I mean, think about he also orchestrated the RG3 trade.
Oh yeah,
way back in the day. So
what did you guys get out of that?
Dude, I can't remember. But we got a shit ton of picks.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not disenfranchised. I'm not forlorn. I think, I think next year, we'll come out strong. The division has gotten a lot better.
It's true. The Cardinals finally have another quarterback, it looks like.
Yeah, there's
Kyler.
There's potential for the Cardinals, the Niners.
They look
always
real.
a tough out.
Yeah.
Always a tough out. I think the Rams-Niners rivalry is one of the great rivalries of the NFC.
Really?
Yeah,
I think
dude.
A lot of people would say the Seahawks and Niners are bigger.
Ugh.
I'm just saying.
No, bruh. Think about last year, that game between the Rams and the Niners on Thursday Night Football where it was like 54-48.
What?
Yeah, I'm exaggerating the score, but it was an amazing game.
I was going to say, I was like, I don't think that happened.
It was an amazing game.
Sounds like the Chiefs and Rams game.
Yeah, probably. But even this last game, last week, that was an amazing game between the Rams and the Niners.
Yeah, that was a really
amazing game.
Crazy game. Crazy game.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, when a brother dies, it's
yeah.
it fuels you, like
But I don't know. I'm stoked for next season.
So, before we go, because we are running out of time, and this has been really fun, and I've really enjoyed this.
Dude, totally. I've been looking forward to it for the last 4 months.
And I've been looking forward to it for the last 4 months, too. Hopefully, before you
Easily,
leave.
we could have gone on.
Oh, for another 3 hours, yeah. But we will save it. But before we go, I have a quick question to ask you. And this might not turn into a quick question. Maybe we'll be here for another 10 minutes. But Super Bowl prediction. Right now. Week 17. Playoffs have not started. What do you got? I can go first if you want me to.
Go ahead.
I truly believe the AFC title game is going to be Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills versus Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson in Baltimore.
Whoa.
And Josh Allen they're going to play the Patriots again. They're going to beat them.
In Foxborough.
And it's over. It's over. I think that's what's going to happen. In the NFC, honestly, I really think we're going to get Niners, Saints 2. And the Saints are going to win. I think Drew Brees is going to ball.
I'm going to go.
But I don't know who's going to win the AFC yet.
AFC, I think I'm going to be safe in the AFC. I'm going to say New England, Baltimore, in Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to go Baltimore coming out of that. Barely. By the skin of their teeth. I think Tom Brady's going to have a great game. And then out of the NFC, I'm just going to go Baltimore, Frisco, Super Bowl rematch. And I think this time, Frisco gets it done.
No power outage?
No power outage. No suspicious power outage.
Yeah.
But I got a question. Really briefly. We are coming to the end of a decade. If you could summarize in a sentence or a word this decade for you.
I have a phrase.
Sure.
Coming of age.
Could not have said it better.
I in this past decade, I went from a 13-year-old emo kid who didn't know he was emo to a damn near 23-year-old emo kid who definitely knows he's emo and makes emo music and has definitely been through a lot, but is excited to embark on this new journey that he never thought he would even go on. So that's how I would summarize it. What about you?
I don't know, man. I'd probably say coming of age is like a great way to put it. I mean, I went from 18 to 27. So I'd probably go, I don't know. It's hard to follow that. I'd probably just say growth. I'd probably just say growth.
Nice.
In one word.
You have grown. Even in the time that we've known each other. Definitely have. And
yeah, I would agree to that.
Yeah.
Mutually. Man, yeah.
It's crazy that this decade's is wrapping up.
Dude, like my second full decade.
That's true.
From 2000 to 2010, 2010 to 2020.
It'll be my second full decade, but this will be the first decade that I actually was conscious for.
Whoa, yeah.
Definitely was not really that conscious of anything when I was like fucking, 5? So, yeah. But we'll do this again. You'll hear from Quinn before he leaves for Hawaii and definitely before I leave for Sweden. This is the 38th episode. So we have a closing out the week this week. And then next week, episode 39 of the Closers Podcast. I've talked about this. This
is a big one.
I talked about this in the first episode. My boss.
It sounds like, remember in Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, where he's like, do you hear the drums? When they're in the mines of Moria.
Yeah. My boss, Greg Higley.
The Wiggle.
Mr. Hig. Greg Gigley. He is going to come on. He's going to be on the show. There might be some special guests along with him too, who might just
might pop on by.
Might just pop in for a quick second.
Mundo.
Yeah, Mundo might show up. The Ass Man might be there.
El Limon.
El Limon might be there. We might have some new people too that have never been on.
Oh,
like X, possibly an X, possibly a cat. We'll see. I don't know, but it's gonna be really fun. We're gonna talk to him about his life. He's had a really, very eventful life, and I feel like he has a lot of wisdom to share. So that'll be really. That would be a really great episode.
Wisdom is like art.
So I hope you all enjoy
Can't
that.
actually be defined.
We will. I'll talk to you then, guys. Have a great New Year, because you will be hearing this right before New Year's. Have a great New Year. Thank you for making this year the best year of my life. So, yeah, I'll talk to you in the New Year. Take care.
Super cool.